You weren't born to worry. You were born to live. But somewhere along the way, life taught you to expect disaster instead of possibility. That ends today. Because the fastest way to waste your life is to live it in fear of what might go wrong. The bold live fully, not because they have less to fear, but because they fear wasting their potential more. This is your wake-up call, not tomorrow, not next week, now. Subscribe to our channel if you're ready to master your mind. And tell us, where are you watching from? Worry is a thief. It steals your present moment. It robs your peace. It takes your joy and leaves you with nothing but empty fear. Most people think worry protects them. They believe it prepares them for disaster. They're wrong. Worry doesn't warn you, it weakens you. It doesn't prepare you, it paralyzes you. It doesn't solve problems, it creates them. Look around you. The most successful people you know aren't the biggest worriers. They're the ones who learn to act despite uncertainty. They're the ones who refuse to let fear dictate their choices. They understood something fundamental that most people never learn. Worry is not wisdom. Here's what most people don't understand about worry. It's not rational. It's not helpful. It's not even real. Worry exists only in your mind, feeding on possibilities that rarely become realities. It's a mental habit that grows stronger every time you indulge it. The human brain is wired for survival, not happiness. Your ancestors who worried about every rustle in the bushes lived longer than those who didn't. But you're not living in the wilderness anymore. Your brain hasn't caught up. It's still scanning for threats that don't exist, creating problems that aren't there. Worry attacks your health first. It floods your system with stress hormones. It raises your blood pressure. It weakens your immune system. It steals your sleep. It robs your appetite. It ages you from the inside out. People who worry chronically don't just feel older. They are older. Their cells deteriorate faster. Their bodies break down sooner. But the physical damage is nothing compared to what worry does to your spirit. It turns optimists into pessimists. It transforms dreamers into doubters. It makes the bold timid and the confident insecure. It takes people who were born to soar and teaches them to crawl. Worry destroys opportunity. While you're imagining everything that could go wrong, life is offering you everything that could go right. But you're too focused on disaster to see possibility. You're too busy protecting yourself from imaginary threats to grab real opportunities. I've seen brilliant people waste their talents because they worried about failure. I've watched capable individuals remain in situations they hated because they worried about change. I've observed loving people isolate themselves because they worried about rejection. Worry doesn't just limit your potential. It destroys it. The most tragic part? Most of what you worry about never happens. Studies show that 85% of what people worry about doesn't occur. Of the 15% that does happen, 79% of people discover they can handle it better than they expected. That means 97% of worry is completely wasted energy. Think about your own life. How many nights have you lost sleep over problems that never materialized? How many opportunities have you missed because you were afraid of outcomes that never occurred? How much time have you spent preparing for disasters that never came? But let me ask you this. What if you took all that energy you spent worrying and redirected it toward building the life you actually want? What if instead of imagining everything that could go wrong, you started planning everything that could go right? The difference between successful people and everyone else isn't talent. It isn't luck. It isn't privilege. It's this. Successful people learn to channel their mental energy toward solutions instead of problems. They learn to focus on possibilities instead of disasters. They learn to worry less and live more. You have the same 24 hours as everyone else. You have the same basic human capabilities. The only difference is where you direct your attention. Worry steals your attention and wastes it on things you can't control. Wisdom takes that same attention and invests it in things you can influence. This isn't about becoming reckless. This isn't about ignoring real problems. This is about distinguishing between genuine concerns that require action and useless worry. that only creates suffering. Smart people prepare, wise people don't panic. The choice is yours. You can continue letting worry run your life, stealing your peace and limiting your potential. Or you can declare war on worry and reclaim your right to live fully. You can stop being a victim of your own imagination and start being the author of your own story. Your ancestors worried so you could live. Don't dishonor their sacrifice by spending your life paralyzed by fear. They fought real dangers so you could be free to pursue real dreams. Use that freedom, honor that gift, stop worrying, and start living. Let's get clear about what we're dealing with. Worry isn't preparation. It isn't planning. It isn't wisdom. Worry is mental masturbation. It feels like you're doing something productive, but you're actually just wasting time and energy. Real preparation involves research, planning, and action. Worry involves repetitive thinking about negative possibilities, with no constructive outcome. When you prepare, you gather information and make decisions. When you worry, you spin your wheels in mental mud. Here's the psychology behind worry. Your brain has two primary systems, the logical mind and the emotional mind. The logical mind deals with facts, evidence, and rational analysis. The emotional mind deals with feelings, fears, and fight-or-flight responses. Worry happens when your emotional mind hijacks your logical mind. Think of worry as a computer virus in your mental software. It infiltrates your thinking process and corrupts your decision-making ability. It takes real problems and amplifies them. It takes imaginary problems and makes them feel real. It turns molehills into mountains and possibilities into certainties. But let me ask you this. When was the last time worry actually solved a problem for you? When did sitting there, replaying worst-case scenarios in your mind, ever improve your situation? Never, because worry doesn't solve problems. It creates them. Worry feeds on three things: uncertainty, lack of control, and negative imagination. Remove any one of these, and worry begins to die. Feed all three, and worry grows into a monster that devours your peace, your confidence, and your potential. Most people worry because they confuse it with caring. They think that if they stop worrying about their children, they don't love them. If they stop worrying about their job, they don't care about their career. If they stop worrying about their health, they're being irresponsible. This is backwards thinking. You can care deeply without worrying constantly. In fact, you can care more effectively when you're not paralyzed by worry. Love motivates action. Worry prevents it. Concern leads to solutions. Worry leads to sleepless nights. The difference between concern and worry is simple. Concern is emotion plus action. Worry is emotion plus paralysis. When you're concerned about your health, you exercise and eat well. When you worry about your health, you lie awake, imagining diseases you don't have. Here's what most people don't understand about the worried mind. It becomes addicted to the stress response. Worry triggers the release of stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. Over time, your body becomes dependent on these chemicals. You actually start to feel uncomfortable when you're not worried about something. This is why some people seem to enjoy drama. This is why others jump from one crisis to another. This is why certain individuals can't sit still in peace. They've trained their nervous system to need stress. They've become addicted to their own worry. Breaking this addiction requires conscious effort. You have to retrain your brain to find peace more interesting than panic. You have to teach your nervous system that calm is safe. You have to practice choosing thoughts that serve you instead of thoughts that sabotage you. Most worry falls into one of four categories. First, things that happened in the past that you can't change. Second, things that might happen in the future that you can't control. Third, things that will never happen but feel possible. Fourth, things that are happening now but aren't actually problems. Look at your current worries. I guarantee they fit into one of these categories. And I guarantee that none of them are actually helping you create the life you want. They're just mental habits that feel important but accomplish nothing. The worried mind loves to disguise itself as the responsible mind. It tells you that you're being prudent, careful, and wise. But prudence involves taking reasonable precautions. Worry involves imagining unreasonable disasters. Caution involves assessing real risks. Worry involves creating imaginary ones. Some people worry because they think it shows they care. Some worry because they think it prevents bad things from happening. Some worry because they think it prepares them for disaster. All of these beliefs are false. Worry doesn't demonstrate love, it demonstrates fear. Worry doesn't prevent problems, it creates them. Worry doesn't prepare you for challenges, it weakens your ability to handle them. The truth is, worry is just a habit. Like biting your nails or checking your phone constantly, it's something you do automatically without thinking. But unlike other habits, worry masquerades as something important. It pretends to serve a purpose. It doesn't. Once you see worry for what it really is, a useless mental habit that wastes energy and creates suffering, you can begin to eliminate it. Once you understand that worry is not wisdom, caution, or love, you can stop feeling guilty about letting it go. You weren't born to worry. You learned how. And anything you learned, you can unlearn. Anything you practiced, you can stop practicing. Anything you created, you can destroy. Your worry is not permanent. It's not part of your personality. It's just a bad habit that's outlived its usefulness. The future doesn't exist. Read that again. The future doesn't exist. It's not a place you can visit. It's not a destination you can reach. It's not a reality you can experience. The future is nothing but a concept in your mind. Yet most people spend their entire lives living there. They worry about what might happen tomorrow. They stress about events that may never occur. They sacrifice today's peace for tomorrow's imaginary problems. This is insanity, masquerading as wisdom. Here's what most people don't understand about time. You only exist in the present moment, right now, this second, this breath, this heartbeat. The past is memory. The future is imagination. But you, the real you, only exists now. When you worry about the future, you're literally trying to live in a place that doesn't exist. It's like trying to eat tomorrow's breakfast or spend next week's paycheck. You can think about it, plan for it, and prepare for it. But you can't experience it until it becomes now. But let me ask you this. How accurate are your predictions about the future? When you look back at your past worries, how many of them actually came true? How many of the disasters you imagined actually happened? How many of the problems you spent sleepless nights worrying about ever materialized? I'll tell you exactly. How accurate you are? You're wrong about 85% of the time, and the 15% of the time you're right. You handle it better than you expected 79% of the time. Your track record for predicting disaster is terrible, so why do you keep trying? The human mind is terrible at predicting the future. We overestimate negative possibilities and underestimate our ability to handle challenges. We imagine worst-case scenarios and forget about best-case outcomes. We focus on what could go wrong and ignore what could go right. This isn't a character flaw. It's how your brain is wired. Your ancestors who prepared for the worst survived longer than those who expected the best. But you're not living in the wilderness anymore. Your brain's danger detection system is out of date. It's like running modern software on ancient hardware. It doesn't work properly. The key to mental peace is learning to live in the present moment. Not because the future doesn't matter, but because the present is the only place where you have any power. You can't change what happened yesterday. You can't control what happens tomorrow. But you can influence what happens right now. Every moment you spend worrying about tomorrow is a moment stolen from today. Every hour you spend imagining future disasters is an hour you could have spent creating present solutions. Every day you sacrifice to anxiety about what might happen is a day you'll never get back. Think about the most peaceful people you know. They're not the ones who have figured out the future. They're the ones who have learned to be fully present. They're not predicting tomorrow. They're living today. They're not managing imaginary problems, they're handling real ones. The present moment is where life happens. It's where joy exists. It's where love grows. It's where peace lives. It's where your power resides. When you're fully present, worry can't touch you because worry exists only in thoughts about time that doesn't exist. Here's what most people don't understand about living in the now. It doesn't mean you stop planning. It doesn't mean you become irresponsible. It doesn't mean you ignore the future entirely. It means you do your planning from a place of presence instead of a place of panic. When you plan from the present moment, you make better decisions. When you prepare from a place of calm, you see more clearly. When you think about the future, from a centered place, you're more creative, more resourceful, and more effective. But when you worry about the future from a place of fear, you make poor choices. When you plan from a place of panic, you miss important details. When you think about tomorrow from a place of anxiety, you create more problems than you solve. The discipline of returning to the present moment is the most important skill you can develop. It's not easy. Your mind has been conditioned to wander. It's been trained to live everywhere except where you actually are. But this training can be undone. Start small. When you catch your mind wandering to future worries, gently bring it back to now. Focus on your breath. Notice your surroundings. Feel your body. Engage your senses. These simple actions anchor you in the only moment that actually exists. The more you practice presence, the more natural it becomes. The more you live in the now, the less attractive the future becomes as a place to worry. The more you experience the peace of the present moment, the less willing you become to sacrifice it for imaginary problems. You can't predict tomorrow. You can't control tomorrow. You can't live tomorrow. But you can live today. You can make today meaningful. You can make today productive. You can make today peaceful. Stop trying to live in a time that doesn't exist. Stop worrying about a future you can't control. Stop sacrificing the present for the imaginary. Your life is happening now. Don't miss it. You're not in control of the world. You never were. You never will be. And the sooner you accept this truth, the sooner you'll find peace. Most of your stress comes from trying to control things that are beyond your influence. You worry about other people's opinions. You stress about economic conditions. You lose sleep over political decisions. You obsess over things that are completely outside your power. This is exhausting. It's futile. It's insane. You're fighting a battle you can never win against forces you can never defeat. You're trying to control the ocean with a teaspoon. You're attempting to direct the wind with your breath. But here's what you can control: your thoughts, your actions, your responses, your choices, your effort, your attitude, your focus, your energy. These things are yours. These things respond to your will. These things shape your experience. The difference between calm people and chaotic people is simple. Calm people focus on what they can control. Chaotic people focus on what they can't. Calm people invest their energy in their responses. Chaotic people waste their energy on circumstances. Let me ask you this. What good does it do to worry about things you can't control? When has stressing about the weather ever changed the forecast? When has losing sleep over someone else's behavior ever changed their personality? When has obsessing over global events ever altered their outcome? Never, because worry without power is suffering without purpose. Stress without influence is pain without gain. Anxiety about things beyond your control is emotional self-torture with no benefit. The ancient Stoics understood this principle better than anyone. They divided all of life into two categories: things within their control and things outside their control. They spent their energy on the first category and accepted the second. This wasn't resignation, it was wisdom. You can't control whether you get sick, but you can control how you take care of your health. You can't control whether you get fired, but you can control how hard you work and how valuable you make yourself. You can't control whether people like you, but you can control how you treat people. You can't control the traffic, but you can control when you leave. You can't control the stock market, but you can control your spending and saving habits. You can't control your children's choices, but you can control the example you set and the guidance you provide. Here's what most people don't understand about control. The more you try to control things outside your influence, the less control you have over things within your influence. The energy you waste on uncontrollable circumstances is energy you can't invest in controllable actions. When you worry about your company's future, you have less mental clarity for your own performance. When you stress about your spouse's moods, you have less emotional availability for your own responses. When you obsess over world events, you have less focus for your personal goals. The secret to inner peace is learning to distinguish between your circle of influence and your circle of concern. Your circle of concern includes everything you care about: your family, your community, your country, the world. Your circle of influence includes only what you can actually affect through your actions. Most people have a large circle of concern and a small circle of influence. They care about many things, but control few things. This creates constant frustration. They're emotionally invested in outcomes they can't affect. Wise people work to expand their circle of influence and shrink their circle of concern. They care deeply about what they can control and care less about what they can't. They invest their emotional energy where they have actual power. This doesn't mean becoming callous or uncaring. This means becoming strategic about where you invest your mental and emotional resources. This means choosing to focus on what you can change instead of lamenting what you can't. When something disturbs your peace, ask yourself, is this within my control or outside my control? If it's within your control, take action. If it's outside your control, let it go. This simple question will save you years of unnecessary suffering. You can't control the past. It's already happened. You can't control other people. They have their own free will. You can't control random events. They're beyond anyone's influence. But you can control your response to all of these things. Your response is your power. Your reaction is your responsibility. Your choice is your freedom. No one can take these away from you unless you give them away. No circumstance can control these unless you let it. The moment you stop trying to control what you can't control, you reclaim power over what you can control. The moment you stop fighting unwinnable battles, you can focus on winnable ones. The moment you stop being a victim of circumstances, you can become the master of your responses. Control what you can. Release what you can't. This is the path to peace. This is the secret to serenity. This is the foundation of all mental strength. You are not powerless. You are not helpless. You are not a victim. You have control over the most important things: your thoughts, your actions, and your responses. Use this control wisely. Exercise this power deliberately. This is where your real strength lies. Movement is medicine. Action is antidote. Motion is the mortal enemy of worry. You cannot worry and act at the same time. Your brain isn't wired for it. When you move with purpose, worry dies. Most people think they need to feel better before they can act better. This is backwards. You need to act better before you can feel better. Emotion follows motion. Confidence follows action. Peace follows progress. Here's what most people don't understand about anxiety. It feeds on inaction. It grows in stillness. It thrives when you're sitting there, thinking, analyzing, and doing nothing. Anxiety is a parasite that needs a stationary host. Start moving, and it starves. Think about the times when you've been most worried. Were you busy working on solutions? Were you actively addressing problems? Were you taking concrete steps forward? Probably not. You were probably sitting there, replaying scenarios in your mind, imagining disasters, and feeling helpless. Now think about the times when you felt most confident and capable. Were you overthinking? Were you analyzing every possibility? Were you paralyzed by what-if scenarios? No. You were moving, you were doing, you were acting, despite uncertainty. Action doesn't require certainty. Action creates certainty. You don't need to know exactly how things will turn out before you begin. You need to begin so you can discover how things will turn out. Clarity comes through engagement, not through endless planning. But let me ask you this. What problem in your life has ever been solved by worry alone? What challenge have you ever overcome by thinking about it obsessively without taking action? What goal have you ever achieved by planning it to death but never starting? None. Because worry is thinking without doing, planning without acting, preparing without beginning. It's mental motion that creates no real movement. It's spinning your wheels while staying in the same place. The cure for most anxiety is simple. Do something, not everything, not the perfect thing, just something. Take one small step toward solving the problem instead of taking giant mental leaps toward imagining disasters. Worried about your health? Schedule a doctor's appointment. Stressed about your finances? Create a budget. Anxious about your relationship? Have an honest conversation. Concerned about your career? Update your resume. The action doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be real. Here's what happens when you act instead of worry. First, you gather real information instead of imagining possibilities. Second, you build confidence through competence. Third, you create momentum that carries you forward. Fourth, you prove to yourself that you can handle challenges. Most worry is based on incomplete information. You fill in the gaps with worst-case scenarios. But when you take action, you gather real data. You discover that problems are usually smaller than they seemed. You find that solutions are more available than you thought. Action builds confidence. Because competence breeds certainty. The more you do, the more you prove you can do. The more challenges you handle, the more challenges you believe you can handle. Every problem you solve becomes evidence that you're a problem solver. Movement creates momentum. One action leads to another. One step makes the next step easier. One success makes the next success more likely. Action compounds just like worry. Compounds, but in the opposite direction. The worried mind always asks, what if it doesn't work? The active mind asks, what if it does work? The worried mind focuses on what could go wrong. The active mind focuses on what could go right. The worried mind sees problems. The active mind sees possibilities. This doesn't mean taking reckless action. This doesn't mean moving without thinking. This means taking thoughtful action despite uncertainty. This means making the best decision you can with the information you have, then adjusting as you learn more. Perfect information doesn't exist. Perfect plans don't exist. Perfect timing doesn't exist. If you wait for perfect conditions, you'll wait forever. If you wait until you're certain, you'll never start. If you wait until you're ready, you'll never be ready. Ready is a feeling that comes after you start, not before. Confident is a state that develops through action, not through analysis. Capable is a belief that grows through doing, not through thinking. The most successful people aren't the ones who never feel anxious. They're the ones who act despite feeling anxious. They're the ones who move forward while uncertain. They're the ones who do what needs to be done, whether they feel like it or not. Your feelings are not facts. Your emotions are not instructions. Your anxiety is not prophecy. You can feel worried and still take action. You can feel uncertain and still move forward. You can feel scared and still do what needs to be done. The key is starting before you're ready, moving before you're certain, acting before you feel confident. Confidence doesn't create action. Action creates confidence. Readiness doesn't create success. Success creates readiness. Stop waiting for worry to disappear before you start living. Start living and watch worry disappear. Stop planning the perfect move. Make an imperfect move and improve it as you go. Stop thinking your way to action. Act your way to clarity. Movement is the antidote to anxiety. Action is the enemy of worry. Motion is the path to peace. You already know what you need to do. Stop thinking about it. Start doing it. You're either dwelling on the past or dreading the future, or you're here, alive and calm. There is no middle ground. There is no halfway house between presence and absence. You're either in this moment or you're somewhere else entirely. Most people live their entire lives somewhere else. They're physically here, but mentally everywhere else. They're having conversations while thinking about work. They're at work while thinking about home. They're at home while thinking about tomorrow. They're everywhere except where they actually are. This is the root of most human suffering, not being present in your own life, missing your own experience, living like a ghost in your own story. You're here, but you're not really here. You exist, but you're not really existing. The present moment is the only moment that's real. It's the only moment where life actually happens. It's the only moment where you have any power. It's the only moment where peace exists. Everything else is memory or imagination. But let me ask you this. When was the last time you were completely present? When did you last experience a moment without thinking about the next moment? When did you last feel fully alive, fully aware, fully engaged with what was happening right now? If you're like most people, it's been a while. Your mind has been trained to wander. It's been conditioned to multitask. It's been programmed to always be somewhere else, doing something else, thinking about something else. This mental wandering isn't neutral. It's not harmless. Every moment you spend lost in thought is a moment you lose from your life. Every hour you spend mentally absent is an hour you'll never get back. Every day you live on autopilot is a day that disappears forever. Here's what most people don't understand about the present moment. It's not boring. It's not empty. It's not lacking. The present moment contains everything, all the beauty, all the joy, all the peace you've been searching for in the past and future. When you're truly present, colors are more vivid, sounds are more clear, tastes are more rich, touch is more real, life is more alive. The present moment isn't missing anything, you've been missing it. The mind that dwells in the past creates depression. The mind that worries about the future creates anxiety. But the mind that rests in the present creates peace. This isn't philosophy, it's psychology. This isn't theory, it's truth. You can't be anxious about something that's happening right now unless it's actually dangerous. Real danger creates appropriate fear that motivates protective action. Imaginary danger creates inappropriate anxiety. That motivates nothing but suffering. When you're fully present, problems become manageable. Challenges become opportunities. Difficulties become stepping stones. Not because the circumstances change, but because your relationship to them changes. Presence transforms perception. The worried mind asks, "What if?" The present mind asks, "What now?" The anxious mind focuses on what might happen. The present mind focuses on what is happening. The fearful mind lives in imagination. The present mind lives in reality. Training your mind to stay present isn't easy. Your brain has been conditioned to wander for years, maybe decades. It's developed strong habits of mental time travel, but these habits can be broken. This conditioning can be reversed. Start with your breath. It's always happening now. It's always available. It's always real. When your mind starts to wander, return to your breathing. Feel the air entering your lungs. Notice the pause between breaths. Sense the air leaving your body. Use your senses as anchors. What do you see right now? What do you hear in this moment? What do you feel against your skin? What do you smell in the air? Your senses only work in the present. They can't see yesterday or hear tomorrow. Practice. Single tasking. Do one thing at a time with full attention. When you eat, just eat. When you walk, just walk. When you listen, just listen. When you work, just work. Stop trying to be everywhere and be somewhere. Notice when your mind wanders, and gently bring it back. Don't judge it, don't fight it, don't get frustrated with it. Simply notice it and redirect it. Like training a puppy, it takes patience and repetition. The more you practice presence, the more natural it becomes. The more you live in the now, the less attractive the past and future become as places to hide. The more you experience the richness of this moment, the less you'll want to escape it. Presence is a skill. Like any skill, it improves with practice. You wouldn't expect to play piano beautifully after one lesson. Don't expect to master presence after one attempt. Be patient with yourself. Be consistent with your practice. The present moment is your home. It's where you belong. It's where life happens. It's where peace lives. Stop being a tourist in your own existence. Stop visiting your life occasionally. Move in. Stay. Be present. You've spent enough time in the past that's already gone. You've spent enough time in the future that doesn't exist. Come home to now. Come home to here. Come home to yourself. Your life is waiting for you in this moment. Worry starts as a whisper and becomes a scream. It begins as a single thought and grows into a mental storm. It starts small and becomes massive. But here's the secret. You can stop it before it starts, and you can interrupt it once it begins. Every worry spiral follows the same pattern. It starts with a trigger, a thought, an image, a memory, a possibility. Your mind grabs this trigger and runs with it. One worried thought leads to another. That thought leads to 3 more. Those 3 become 9. Soon you're drowning in a flood of anxiety that started with a single drop, but storms don't happen. Instantly, they build gradually. They have warning signs. They follow predictable patterns. And if you know what to look for, you can see them coming and take shelter before they hit. The first warning sign is the trigger thought. Learn to recognize your triggers. What thoughts consistently lead to worry spirals? What topics send your mind spinning? What situations activate your anxiety? Awareness is the first line of defense. Common triggers include, what if something bad happens? What if I fail? What if they don't like me? What if I'm not good enough? What if I make a mistake? These innocent-seeming questions are actually invitations to disaster thinking. The second warning sign is the emotional shift. Before your mind starts spiraling, your body starts reacting. Your heart rate increases. Your breathing becomes shallow. Your muscles tense. Your stomach knots. These physical signals occur before the mental storm hits. Pay attention to your body. It's an early warning system that can save you from hours of unnecessary suffering. When you feel that first flutter of anxiety, that first tightness in your chest, that first knot in your stomach, that's your cue to intervene. The third warning sign is the mental multiplication. One worried thought becomes 2, 2 become 4, 4 become 8. Your mind starts generating possibilities faster than you can process them. Each new possibility feels equally real and equally threatening. This is where most people lose control. They try to think their way out of worry by analyzing each possibility. This doesn't work. You can't solve imaginary problems with real thinking. You can't logic your way out of emotional storms. Here's how to interrupt the spiral before it takes control. First, name it. Say to yourself, I'm starting to worry, or I'm beginning to spiral. Naming the experience creates distance from it. You become the observer of your worry instead of the victim of it. Second, breathe deliberately. Take slow, deep breaths from your diaphragm. Count your breaths. Focus on extending your exhale longer than your inhale. This activates your parasympathetic nervous system and calms your stress response. Third, ground yourself in the present moment. Look around and name 5 things you can see. Listen and identify 4 things you can hear. Touch 3 different textures. Smell 2 different scents. Taste 1 thing. This technique pulls you out of your head and into your body. Fourth, challenge the spiral with reality. Ask yourself, is this thought helpful? Is this worry solving anything? Am I thinking about something real or something imagined? What would I tell a friend who was thinking this way? Fifth, redirect your attention. Give your mind something else to focus on. Call a friend. Go for a walk. Do some exercise. Work on a project. Clean something. Read something. Listen to music. Watch something funny. Engage in any activity that requires your full attention. But let me ask you this. What if you could prevent most spirals from starting in the first place? What if you could build immunity to worry instead of just treating it after it appears? What if you could create a mind that naturally resists anxiety? You can. Mental immunity comes from consistent practices that strengthen your psychological resilience. Daily meditation builds awareness and emotional regulation. Regular exercise releases tension and produces feel-good chemicals. Adequate sleep restores your nervous system and improves emotional stability. Proper nutrition fuels your brain and stabilizes your mood. Social connection provides support and perspective. Meaningful work gives you purpose and direction. Creative expression releases stress and builds confidence. These aren't luxuries, they're necessities for mental health. The stronger your foundation, the harder it is for worry spirals to take hold. The more stable your baseline, the less reactive you become to triggers. The healthier your overall state, the faster you recover from temporary setbacks. Prevention is always better than treatment. Building resilience is always better than managing crisis. Creating a strong mind is always better than fixing a broken one. Invest in your mental health before you need to repair it. Remember this: every worry spiral is optional. Every anxious episode is interruptible. Every mental storm can be weathered. You're not powerless against your own mind. You have tools, you have techniques. You have the ability to choose your thoughts and direct your attention. The spiral stops when you decide to stop it. The storm ends when you refuse to feed it. The anxiety fades when you withdraw your energy from it. You have more control than you realize. You have more power than you think. Use it. Failure is not final. Mistakes are not permanent. Setbacks are not sentences. Yet most people live in terror of these temporary experiences. They worry about failing as if failure will destroy them. They fear mistakes as if mistakes would define them. This fear of failure creates more failure than failure itself. The anxiety about making mistakes causes more mistakes than mistakes themselves. The worry about being imperfect prevents people from being excellent. You can't succeed if you're paralyzed by the possibility of not succeeding. Here's what most people don't understand about failure. It's not the opposite of success. It's part of success. Every person who has accomplished anything significant has failed repeatedly. Every innovator has made countless mistakes. Every expert was once a beginner who got it wrong more often than right. Failure is feedback. Mistakes are information. Setbacks are redirections. They're not judgments on your worth as a person. They're not predictions about your future potential. They're simply data points in your learning process. But let me ask you this: what would you attempt if you knew you couldn't fail? What dreams would you pursue if mistakes weren't permanent? What risks would you take if setbacks weren't final? What life would you create if failure wasn't fatal? The fear of failure is often more damaging than failure itself. It keeps you small, it keeps you safe, it keeps you stuck. It convinces you to choose the certain misery of unfulfilled potential over the uncertain possibility of temporary setbacks. Most people have been conditioned to see failure as evidence of inadequacy instead of evidence of effort. They've been taught that mistakes prove incompetence instead of proving courage. They've learned that setbacks indicate weakness instead of indicating willingness to try. This conditioning starts early. In school, mistakes are marked in red. Wrong answers are punished. Failures are recorded permanently. Children learn that being right is rewarded, and being wrong is shameful. They learn to avoid mistakes instead of learning from them. But real life doesn't work like school. In real life, the people who make the most mistakes often achieve the most success. The people who fail the most often learn the most. The people who take the most risks often create the most value. Every mistake contains a lesson. Every failure provides feedback. Every setback offers insight. But you only receive these gifts if you're willing to examine what went wrong instead of simply feeling bad about it. When something doesn't work out, ask yourself, what did I learn? What would I do differently? What skills do I need to develop? What assumptions were incorrect? What can I improve? These questions transform failures into education and mistakes into motivation. The most successful people aren't the ones who never fail. They're the ones who fail fast, learn quickly, and adjust rapidly. They're the ones who see failure as tuition in the university of life. They're the ones who understand that expertise requires experience, and experience requires mistakes. Here's what most people don't understand about perfectionism. It's not high standards, it's fear of judgment. It's not attention to detail, it's paralysis in the face of uncertainty. It's not excellence, it's procrastination disguised as preparation. Perfectionism prevents action. It delays decisions. It postpones progress. It convinces you to wait until you can do something perfectly instead of doing it imperfectly and improving it over time. It values the comfort of inaction over the risk of imperfection. But perfection is an illusion. Perfect timing doesn't exist. Perfect conditions don't occur. Perfect solutions don't emerge. Perfect people don't exist. If you wait for perfect, you'll wait forever. If you demand perfect, you'll achieve nothing. Excellence is different from perfection. Excellence means doing your best with what you have. Perfection means waiting until you have everything. Excellence means improving continuously. Perfection means avoiding any possibility of criticism. The path to excellence is paved with mistakes. The road to mastery is built on failures. The journey to success requires setbacks. You can't get good at something without being bad at it first. You can't become excellent without being mediocre first. Give yourself permission to be imperfect. Give yourself permission to make mistakes. Give yourself permission to fail. Not because these things are desirable, but because they're inevitable. Not because you should seek them, but because you shouldn't fear them. Your mistakes don't define you. Your response to them does. Your failures don't determine your future. Your resilience does. Your setbacks don't predict your potential. Your persistence does. Stop fearing failure and start embracing learning. Stop avoiding mistakes and start collecting feedback. Stop preventing setbacks and start building resilience. The very things you've been trying to avoid are the things you need to grow. Failure is not your enemy. Fear of failure is. Mistakes are not your problem. Avoidance of mistakes is. Setbacks are not your weakness. Refusal to face setbacks is. You were not born to play it safe. You were not created to avoid all risk. You were not designed to live without failure. You were born to grow, to learn, to improve, to become. And all of these require the willingness to be imperfect while you're learning to be excellent. What others think of you is none of your business. Read that again. What others think of you is none of your business. Their opinions belong to them. Their judgments reflect them. Their thoughts about you have nothing to do with you and everything to do with them. Yet most people live their entire lives trying to manage other people's opinions. They make decisions based on what others might think. They avoid opportunities because someone might disapprove. They stay in situations they hate because leaving might look bad. They're prisoners in a jail built from imaginary judgments. Here's the truth about other people's opinions. They're largely irrelevant to your life. They don't pay your bills. They don't live your consequences. They don't experience your joy or feel your pain. They're not responsible for your happiness or accountable for your success. But let me ask you this. How much of your mental energy do you spend worrying about what others think? How many decisions do you make based on potential? Approval or disapproval? How often do you choose comfort over growth because someone might judge you? If you're like most people, the answer is too much. You're living someone else's life instead of your own. You're following someone else's script instead of writing your own. You're seeking someone else's approval instead of developing your own standards. This need for approval usually starts in childhood. You learned that pleasing others brought rewards and disappointing them brought punishment. You discovered that conformity was safer than authenticity. You realized that fitting in was easier than standing out. But childhood strategies don't work in adult life. The approval seeking that protected you as a child now imprisons you as an adult. The people-pleasing that brought safety then now brings suffering now. The conformity that helped you survive then now prevents you from thriving now. Here's what. Most people don't understand about seeking approval. It's an impossible game. You can't please everyone all the time. What one person loves, another person hates. What one group approves, another group condemns. You'll drive yourself crazy trying to satisfy contradictory expectations. Even if you could please everyone, it wouldn't matter. Other people's approval doesn't create lasting happiness. External validation doesn't build genuine confidence. Borrowed opinions don't develop authentic self-worth. You can't build a strong life on a foundation of other people's feelings. Though, people whose opinions matter most, the people who really know you, love you, and want the best for you, will support you regardless of what you choose. The people whose opinions matter least, strangers, acquaintances, and critics, will judge you regardless of what you do. Those who mind don't matter, and those who matter don't mind. This is one of the most liberating truths you can accept. The people worth keeping in your life will accept you as you are. The people who reject you for being authentic aren't worth keeping anyway. But here's the deeper truth. Most people aren't thinking about you as much as you think they are. They're too busy worrying about their own lives to spend much time judging yours. They're too concerned with their own problems to focus on your choices. They're too wrapped up in their own stories to care much about your story. The spotlight effect is real. You think everyone is watching you, but they're actually watching themselves. You think everyone is judging you, but they're actually judging themselves. You think everyone cares about your mistakes, but they're actually worried about their own. Even when people do form opinions about you, those opinions say more about them than about you. Their judgments reflect their values, their insecurities, their experiences, and their limitations. Their approval or disapproval is filtered through their own lens, not an objective assessment of your worth. Someone who criticizes your ambition might be insecure about their own lack of goals. Someone who judges your choices might be unhappy with their own decisions. Someone who disapproves of your success might be frustrated with their own failure. Their opinions are about them, not you. The fastest way to reclaim your power is to stop giving it away to other people's opinions. Stop making their approval your goal. Stop making their disapproval your fear. Stop making their thoughts your truth. Your worth is not determined by consensus. Your value is not decided by vote. Your identity is not defined by other people's perceptions. You are who you are, regardless of what anyone else thinks about it. This doesn't mean becoming arrogant or inconsiderate. This doesn't mean ignoring feedback or rejecting all input. This means distinguishing between useful feedback from people you trust and useless opinions from people who don't matter. Listen to people who know you well, love you deeply, and want the best for you. Consider feedback from people with expertise, experience, and good intentions. But don't waste energy on the opinions of people who don't know you, don't love you, and don't want your success. The goal is not to be liked by everyone. The goal is to be respected by people worth respecting and loved by people worth loving. The goal is not universal approval. The goal is authentic living. Stop asking, "What will people think?" Start asking, "What do I think?" Stop wondering, "Will they approve?" Start wondering, "Do I approve?" Stop seeking their permission to live your life. Start giving yourself permission to live it fully. Your life is not a democracy where everyone gets a vote. Your choices are not up for public approval. Your dreams are not subject to committee review. You are the CEO of your own existence. Act like it. Certainty is a myth. Security is an illusion. Guarantees don't exist. The sooner you accept this fundamental truth about life, the sooner you can stop wasting energy trying to create something that can't be created. Most people live in constant anxiety because they're seeking something that doesn't exist. Absolute certainty about the future. They want guarantees that everything will work out. They want promises that nothing bad will happen. They want assurance that their plans will succeed. This is like demanding that gravity stop working or insisting that time move backwards. You're asking the universe to behave in ways it simply doesn't behave. You're expecting life to offer something. It has never offered anyone complete predictability. Life is uncertain by design. Change is the only constant. Unpredictability is the only predictable thing. The stock market fluctuates, relationships evolve, health changes, jobs disappear, opportunities arise, plans fail, dreams come true. Nothing stays the same forever. But let me ask you this. Would you really want absolute certainty if you could have it? Would you want to know exactly how everything would turn out? Would you want to eliminate all surprise, all possibility, all potential for something better than you imagined? Certainty would eliminate hope. If everything was predetermined, why would you try to improve anything? Certainty would eliminate growth. If outcomes were guaranteed, why would you develop resilience? Certainty would eliminate joy. If surprises were impossible, where would wonder come from? The uncertainty you fear is actually the source of everything good in your life. Every opportunity comes from uncertainty. Every improvement comes from the possibility that things could be better. Every achievement comes from the chance that effort might succeed. Here's what most people don't understand about uncertainty. It cuts both ways. If bad things are possible, good things are equally possible. If failure might happen, success might happen. If loss is uncertain, gain is uncertain. If disappointment is possible, delight is possible. Your brain focuses on negative uncertainties because it's wired for survival, not happiness. It prepares you for danger, not opportunity. It scans for threats, not possibilities. But this mental programming is outdated. You're not living in the wilderness anymore. The same uncertainty that could bring problems, could bring solutions. The same unpredictability that could create challenges could create breakthroughs. The same volatility that could cause setbacks could cause successes. Uncertainty is neutral. Your interpretation of it isn't. Most worriers make two fundamental mistakes about uncertainty. First, they assume that uncertain means negative. Second, they believe that worrying about uncertainty somehow reduces it. Both assumptions are false. Uncertain doesn't mean negative. It means unknown. Unknown doesn't mean bad. It means possible. Possible doesn't mean probable. It means potential. And potential includes both positive and negative outcomes. Worrying about uncertainty doesn't reduce it. Anxiety about the unknown doesn't make it known. Stress about unpredictability doesn't make things predictable. Worry is not preparation. Fear is not prevention. Anxiety is not insurance. The people who thrive in uncertain times aren't the ones who eliminate uncertainty. They're the ones who get comfortable with it. They're the ones who learn to surf the waves instead of trying to stop the ocean. They're the ones who dance with change instead of fighting it. Comfort with uncertainty comes from building confidence in your ability to handle whatever comes. It comes from developing skills, resources, and resilience. It comes from proving to yourself repeatedly that you can adapt, adjust, and overcome. You've already survived 100% of your worst days. You've already handled every challenge that's been thrown at you so far. You've already adapted to changes you never saw coming. You've already proven that you're more resilient than you think. This doesn't mean becoming reckless. This doesn't mean ignoring risks. This doesn't mean failing to prepare. This means preparing for uncertainty instead of trying to eliminate it. This means building adaptability instead of seeking predictability. You can't control what happens, but you can control how you respond to what happens. You can't predict the future, but you can prepare yourself to handle various possibilities. You can't eliminate uncertainty, but you can develop comfort with ambiguity. The goal is not to achieve certainty, it's to achieve peace with uncertainty. The objective is not to eliminate all risks, it's to manage risks intelligently. The aim is not to predict the future, it's to prepare for multiple futures. Here's the paradox of uncertainty. The more you accept it, the more confident you become. The more you embrace it, the more peace you find, the more you work with it. Instead of against it, the more it works for you instead of against you. Uncertainty is not your enemy. Resistance to uncertainty is. Change is not your problem. Fear of change is. Unpredictability is not your weakness. Inability to adapt is your weakness. You were not born to live in a predictable world. You were born to navigate an uncertain one. You were not designed for guaranteed outcomes. You were designed for adaptive responses. You were not created for certainty. You were created for growth. Stop demanding guarantees from a universe that doesn't offer them. Stop seeking certainty in a world built on change. Stop fighting the fundamental nature of existence. Embrace uncertainty. Dance with change. Find peace in the unknown. The uncertainty you fear is the freedom you seek. The unpredictability you resist is the possibility you need. The ambiguity you avoid is the adventure you crave. Stop running from uncertainty. Start running toward it. You are not your thoughts. Read that again. You are not your thoughts. You are the one who observes your thoughts. You are the one who chooses which thoughts to follow and which to ignore. You are the conductor of your mental orchestra, not just another instrument. Most people never realize this fundamental truth. They believe they are their thoughts. They think that every idea that pops into their head is true, important, and worth pursuing. They follow every mental rabbit trail, chase every worried possibility, and believe every anxious prediction. This is like believing you are your email inbox. You wouldn't identify with every spam message that arrives, would you? You wouldn't take personally every advertisement that shows up. You wouldn't believe that every unsolicited message represents your desires and values. Your mind is similar to an email inbox. Thousands of thoughts arrive daily. Most are automatic, repetitive, and unimportant. Some are useful and worth your attention. Many are mental spam that should be deleted immediately. Your job is to sort through them, not identify with all of them. But let me ask you this. Who is the one doing the sorting? Who is the one observing the thoughts? Who is the one deciding which thoughts to keep and which to discard? That's the real you. That's your consciousness. That's your awareness. The thoughts are temporary visitors in your mental space. You are the permanent resident. The thoughts come and go. You remain. The thoughts change constantly. You are the constant observer of the change. You are not what you think. You are who thinks. This distinction is not philosophical wordplay. It's practical psychology. Once you understand that you are separate from your thoughts, you gain power over them. Once you realize you can observe them without believing them, you become free from their tyranny. Most people live at the mercy of their automatic thinking. They believe every worried thought that arises. They follow every anxious mental pathway. They accept every pessimistic prediction as truth. They never question whether these thoughts are accurate, helpful, or necessary. Your brain produces approximately 60,000 thoughts per day. Most are repetitive. Many are negative. Some are completely random. If you believed every thought you had, you'd be overwhelmed, confused, and constantly changing directions. Thankfully, you don't have to believe them all. You can think on purpose. You can direct your attention deliberately. You can choose which thoughts to develop and which to dismiss. You can train your mind to work for you instead of against you. This is mental mastery, the ability to consciously direct your thinking. The first step is developing awareness of your thinking patterns. Most people are unconscious of their thoughts. They think automatically without noticing what they're thinking about. They're lost in thought without realizing they're lost. Start paying attention to your internal dialogue. Notice what your mind talks about when you're not directing it. Observe the themes, patterns, and tendencies of your automatic thinking. Become aware of your mental habits without trying to change them immediately. The second step is learning to question your thoughts. Just because you think something doesn't make it true. Just because your mind suggests something doesn't make it wise. Just because an idea arises doesn't make it worth pursuing. Ask yourself, is this thought helpful? Is this thought accurate? Is this thought necessary? Is this thought moving me toward my goals or away from them? Is this thought serving my well-being or undermining it? The third step is practicing thought replacement. When you catch yourself thinking unproductive thoughts, consciously replace them with more useful ones. If you notice worry, replace it with planning. If you notice criticism, replace it with encouragement. If you notice fear, replace it with curiosity. This isn't about positive thinking or denying reality. This is about mental hygiene. You brush your teeth to maintain physical health. You direct your thoughts to maintain mental health. You wouldn't let garbage pile up in your house. Don't let mental garbage pile up in your mind. The fourth step is developing concentration. Most minds are scattered, jumping from topic to topic without purpose or direction. Train your mind to focus on one thing at a time. Practice sustained attention. Build mental discipline through meditation, reading, or any activity that requires focused concentration. The fifth step is creating mental habits that serve you. If you consistently practice directed thinking, it becomes automatic. If you regularly choose helpful thoughts over harmful ones, helpful thinking becomes your default. If you habitually focus on solutions instead of problems, solution-focused thinking becomes natural. Your mind is like a garden. You can let it grow wild and be overrun with weeds, or you can cultivate it deliberately and grow beautiful flowers. You can let random thoughts take root and spread, or you can plant purposeful thoughts and nurture them carefully. Most people have wild mental gardens full of worry weeds, fear thorns, and doubt vines. They wonder why they feel anxious, overwhelmed, and stuck. Meanwhile, they're allowing toxic mental plants to grow unchecked in their consciousness. Take control of your mental garden. Pull the worry weeds before they spread. Cut down the fear thorns before they multiply. Remove the doubt vines before they choke out your confidence. Plant thoughts of possibility, growth, and purpose. Your thoughts create your emotions. Your emotions drive your actions. Your actions determine your results. Your results shape your life. It all starts with thoughts. Control your thoughts, and you control your life. Let your thoughts control you, and your life controls you. You have the power to build a mind that works for you instead of against you. You have the ability to create mental habits that serve your goals instead of sabotaging them. You have the capacity to direct your thinking instead of being directed by it. Stop being a victim of your own thoughts. Start being the master of your own mind. Stop letting random thinking determine your experience. Start choosing thoughts that create the experience you want. Your mind is your most powerful tool. Learn to use it wisely. All worry stems from fear, but fear is rarely about what you think it's about. On the surface, you might be worried about money, health, relationships, or career, but underneath, you're dealing with deeper, more primitive fears that drive most human anxiety. The fear behind the fear of financial problems isn't really about money. It's about survival, security, and worth. The fear behind the fear of health issues isn't really about illness. It's about control, mortality, and helplessness. The fear behind the fear of relationship problems isn't really about other people. It's about rejection, abandonment, and lovability. Most people never dig this deep. They stay on the surface, treating symptoms instead of causes. They worry about specific situations without understanding the underlying fears that make those situations feel threatening. They fight individual battles without realizing they're fighting the same war over and over. But let me ask you this. What if the things you worry about aren't really the things you're afraid of? What if your conscious concerns are just masks for unconscious fears? What if solving the surface problem won't eliminate the underlying anxiety because you haven't addressed the root cause? The human psyche has a limited number of core fears. Almost every specific worry can be traced back to one of these fundamental anxieties. Understanding which core fear is driving your worry is the key to dissolving it permanently instead of just managing it temporarily. The first core fear is the fear of death. This includes not just physical death, but psychological death, the death of identity, dreams, or way of life. When you worry about losing your job, you're often afraid of losing who you are. When you stress about aging, you're confronting mortality. When you panic about change, you're facing the death of familiarity, The second core fear is the fear of abandonment. This is the terror of being left alone, rejected, or unloved. When you worry about relationships, you're often afraid of being abandoned. When you stress about performance, you're afraid people will leave if you're not good enough. When you panic about mistakes, you're afraid others will reject you. The third core fear is the fear of engulfment. This is the opposite of abandonment, the fear of losing yourself in others or situations. When you worry about commitment, you're often afraid of losing your independence. When you stress about responsibilities, you're afraid of being overwhelmed. When you panic about success, you're afraid of losing your freedom. The fourth core fear is the fear of inadequacy. This is the belief that you're not enough, not smart enough, strong enough, good enough, worthy enough. When you worry about failure, you're often afraid of proving your inadequacy. When you stress about judgment, you're afraid others will see your flaws. When you panic about challenges, you're afraid you can't handle them. The fifth core fear is the fear of meaninglessness. This is the existential dread that life has no purpose, that your efforts don't matter, that nothing you do makes a difference. When you worry about the future, you're often afraid it won't be meaningful. When you stress about choices, you're afraid of wasting your life. When you panic about time, you're afraid you're not making it count. Once you identify which core fear is driving your worry, you can address it directly instead of chasing its surface manifestations. Instead of worrying about 1,000 different scenarios, you can work on healing one fundamental fear. Instead of fighting new battles every day, you can win the war once and for all. The fear of death requires accepting mortality and finding our meaning in the temporary. The fear of abandonment requires building self-love and recognizing that others' love doesn't determine your worth. The fear of engulfment requires learning to maintain identity while connecting with others. The fear of inadequacy requires recognizing your inherent worth regardless of performance. The fear of meaninglessness requires creating purpose and finding significance in small actions. Here's what most people don't understand about core fears. They're usually not based on current reality. They're based on childhood experiences, past traumas, inherited beliefs, or evolutionary programming. The 5-year-old who was left alone is still afraid of abandonment. The teenager who was criticized is still afraid of inadequacy. The young adult who was controlled is still afraid of engulfment. These fears made sense when they were formed. They served a protective purpose at the time, but they often outlive their usefulness. The strategies that kept you safe as a child might be keeping you stuck as an adult. The defenses that protected you then might be limiting you now. Healing core fears requires both understanding and experience. You need to intellectually recognize that the fear is outdated and experientially prove that it's no longer necessary. You need to think your way to insight and act your way to confidence. Start by identifying your primary core fear. Look at your recurring worries and trace them back to their deeper source. Notice patterns in your anxiety. What themes keep appearing? What situations consistently trigger you? What outcomes do you most dread? Once you've identified your core fear, start gathering evidence against it. If you fear abandonment, notice all the people who have stayed in your life. If you fear inadequacy, remember all the challenges you've successfully handled. If you fear meaninglessness, recall all the positive impact you've had. Then, start taking small actions that directly challenge the fear. If you fear rejection, practice being vulnerable. If you fear failure, attempt something challenging. If you fear loss of control, practice letting go. Each successful experience weakens the fear's grip on you. The goal isn't to eliminate fear entirely. It's to stop letting outdated fears control your present choices. The objective isn't to become fearless. It's to become fear-aware and fear-responsive instead of fear-driven. Your core fears are not your truth. They're just old stories your mind tells to try to keep you safe. But safety isn't the goal of life. Growth is. Protection isn't the purpose of existence. Connection is. Survival isn't the point of being human. Thriving is. Face your fears. Name them, understand them, challenge them, dissolve them. On the other side of your deepest fears lies your greatest freedom. Worry doesn't just live in your mind. It lives in your body. It's stored in your muscles, encoded in your nervous system, and embedded in your cellular memory. You can't think your way out of anxiety that's been programmed into your biology. You have to retrain your body to remember what calm feels like. Your nervous system has two primary modes, sympathetic and parasympathetic. The sympathetic system activates during stress. It's your fight or flight response. Your heart rate increases, your breathing becomes shallow, your muscles tense, and stress hormones flood your system. This response was designed for short-term physical dangers. The parasympathetic system activates during rest. It's your rest and digest response. Your heart rate slows, your breathing deepens, your muscles relax, and healing hormones are released. This response was designed for long-term recovery and restoration. But here's the problem. Most people live in chronic sympathetic activation. Their nervous systems are stuck in stress mode. They're biologically prepared for danger that isn't coming, threats that don't exist, and emergencies that aren't happening. Their bodies are running a stress response software program that never shuts down. This chronic activation doesn't just feel bad. It's literally damaging your health. Prolonged stress suppresses your immune system, disrupts your sleep, impairs your digestion, affects your memory, and accelerates aging. Your body is paying a physical price for your mental worry, but let me ask you this. When was the last time you felt truly calm? Not just relaxed for a moment, but deeply peaceful in your body. When did you last feel your nervous system completely at ease, your muscles totally relaxed, your breathing naturally slow and deep? If you can't remember, you're not alone. Most people have forgotten what calm feels like. They've been stressed for so long that stress feels normal. They've been anxious for so many years that anxiety feels like their natural state. They've trained their nervous system to stay activated and forgotten how to deactivate it. The good news is that your nervous system is trainable. Just like you can condition your muscles to be stronger through exercise, you can condition your nervous system to be calmer through practice. Just like you can teach your body new physical habits, you can teach it new emotional habits. The first tool is conscious breathing. Your breath is the bridge between your mind and body, between voluntary and involuntary functions. You can't directly control your heart rate, but you can control your breathing, which influences your heart rate. You can't directly control your stress hormones, but you can control your breath, which affects hormone production. Practice diaphragmatic breathing. Place one hand on your chest and one on your belly. Breathe so that only the bottom hand moves. Inhale slowly through your nose for 4 counts, hold for 4 counts, exhale slowly through your mouth for 6 counts. The longer exhale activates your parasympathetic nervous system. The second tool is progressive muscle relaxation. Chronic. Worry creates chronic tension. Most people carry stress in their shoulders, neck, jaw, and back without realizing it. This physical tension sends signals to your brain that danger is present, which maintains mental anxiety. Start with your toes and work your way up. Tense each muscle group for 5 seconds, then release and notice the contrast between tension and relaxation. Pay attention to what release feels like. Train your body to remember the sensation of letting go. The third tool is cold exposure. Brief exposure to cold water activates your vagus nerve, which stimulates your parasympathetic nervous system. End your shower with 30 seconds of cold water. Take cold baths. Swim in cold water. The shock forces your nervous system to reset and build resilience. The fourth tool is movement that emphasizes rhythm and flow. Walking, swimming, dancing, and yoga help discharge nervous energy and reset your stress response. The key is sustained, rhythmic movement that doesn't require intense focus or competition. Let your body move without forcing it. The fifth tool is mindfulness meditation. Sitting quietly and observing your thoughts without judgment trains your nervous system to remain calm even when your mind is active. Start with 5 minutes daily. Focus on your breath. Notice when your mind wanders and gently return your attention to breathing. The sixth tool is grounding techniques that connect you to your body and environment. Feel your feet on the ground. Notice the temperature of the air on your skin. Listen to sounds around you. These practices pull you out of mental worry and into physical presence. The seventh tool is creating environmental calm. Your nervous system responds to your surroundings. Cluttered, chaotic environments maintain stress activation. Clean, organized, peaceful spaces promote nervous system regulation. Pay attention to lighting, sounds, scents, and visual input. The eighth tool is establishing calming rituals. Your nervous system loves predictability. Create consistent practices that signal safety to your body. This might be morning coffee in silence, evening baths, bedtime reading, or weekend nature walks. Routine helps your nervous system know when it's safe to relax. The ninth tool is addressing physical factors that affect nervous system function. Caffeine, alcohol, sugar, and processed foods can maintain stress activation, adequate sleep, proper nutrition, and regular exercise support nervous system regulation. Your lifestyle either helps or hinders your body's ability to calm down. The 10th tool is social connection that feels safe and supportive. Your nervous system co-regulates with others. Spending time with calm, grounded people helps your nervous system remember how to be calm and grounded. Avoiding anxious, chaotic people prevents nervous system activation. Here's what most people don't understand about nervous system training. It takes time and consistency. You can't undo years of chronic stress with a few deep breaths. You can't retrain a hyperactive nervous system with occasional relaxation. You need to practice these tools daily until calm becomes your new baseline. Think of it like physical fitness. You wouldn't expect to get strong by lifting weights once. You wouldn't expect to get flexible by stretching occasionally. Nervous system regulation requires the same commitment as physical conditioning, but the results are worth the effort. As you train calm into your nervous system, worry naturally decreases. As your body learns to relax, your mind follows. As your baseline stress level drops, your resilience increases. You become naturally calmer, more centered, and more peaceful. Your nervous system is not your enemy. It's trying to protect you. But it needs updated information about what safety looks like. Teach it through practice. Train it through repetition. Show it that calm is not only possible, but preferable. Your days shape your peace. Your routines create your reality. Your habits determine your happiness. If you want to eliminate worry from your life, you must design a daily structure that crowds out anxiety with productivity, purpose, and progress. Most people live reactively. They wake up and respond to whatever demands their attention. They check their phones immediately and let other people's priorities dictate their day. They jump from crisis to crisis, putting out fires instead of preventing them. This reactive lifestyle breeds worry because it creates constant uncertainty. But successful people live proactively. They design their days intentionally. They control their mornings before their mornings control them. They create structure that supports their goals and guards their peace. They build routines that minimize uncertainty and maximize effectiveness. The difference between reactive and proactive living is the difference between chaos and calm. Reactive people worry because they never know what's coming next. Proactive people are peaceful because they create predictability within their control. Your morning routine sets the tone for your entire day. If you start your day in a rush, checking emails and social media, consuming other people's problems and opinions, you're programming anxiety into your system from the moment you wake up. You're letting the outside world invade your inner peace before you've even established it. But if you start your day with intention, with meditation, exercise, reading, or planning, you're programming calm into your system. You're establishing your center before the world tries to knock you off balance. You're filling your mind with purpose before it gets filled with problems. Design a morning routine that serves your mental health. Wake up at the same time every day. Avoid checking your phone for the first hour. Do something that centers you: prayer, meditation, journaling, or exercise. Eat a healthy breakfast. Review your priorities for the day. Start from a place of strength, not stress. Your evening routine is equally important. How you end your day affects how you sleep, and how you sleep affects how you feel the next day. If you go to bed stressed, checking news and social media, thinking about problems and watching stimulating content, you're guaranteeing restless sleep and anxious mornings. But if you end your day peacefully, with reading, reflection, gratitude, or gentle stretching, you're programming your nervous system for restorative sleep. You're processing the day's events instead of carrying them into tomorrow. You're choosing calm over chaos. Design an evening routine that promotes peace. Stop using screens an hour before bed. Reflect on the day's accomplishments and lessons. Write down tomorrow's priorities so your mind doesn't have to remember them. Practice gratitude for what went well. Create a transition from day to night that honors rest. Your work routine determines whether your job creates stress or satisfaction. If you approach work reactively, checking emails constantly, saying yes to every request, multitasking through every hour, you're creating constant pressure and anxiety. You're making yourself available to every interruption and emergency. But if you approach work proactively, batching similar tasks, setting boundaries around your time, focusing on high-impact activities, you're creating control and effectiveness. You're making yourself unavailable to distractions and focused on results. Design a work routine that maximizes productivity and minimizes stress. Start each day by identifying your 3 most important tasks. Complete them before checking email or attending meetings. Batch similar activities together. Take regular breaks to reset your focus. End each workday by reviewing accomplishments and planning tomorrow. Your exercise routine affects your mental state as much as your physical state. Regular movement reduces stress hormones, increases endorphins, and improves sleep quality. It's one of the most effective treatments for anxiety and depression. But it has to be consistent to be effective. You don't need to become a fitness fanatic. You just need to move your body regularly. This could be walking, swimming, dancing, weightlifting, or playing sports. The key is finding something you enjoy and doing it consistently. Exercise should reduce stress, not create it. Your nutrition routine impacts your mood, energy, and mental clarity. Processed foods, excessive caffeine, and sugar create energy. Spikes and crashes that mimic anxiety symptoms. Nutrient-dense whole foods provide stable energy and support neurotransmitter production. Design eating habits that support mental stability. Eat regular meals to maintain steady blood sugar. Include protein, healthy fats, and complex carbohydrates in each meal. Limit caffeine, alcohol, and processed foods. Stay hydrated throughout the day. Treat food as fuel for your body and brain. Your social routine determines whether relationships add energy to your life or drain it. Spending time with anxious, negative, or dramatic people increases your stress levels. Your nervous system co-regulates with others, so choose your company. Wisely, prioritize relationships with people who are positive, supportive, and growth-oriented. Limit time with people who constantly complain, create drama, or drain your energy. Seek out friends who inspire you to be your best self and support your goals. Your information diet affects your mental state as much as your food diet. Consuming negative news, social media drama, and sensationalized content fills your mind with problems you can't solve and fears you don't need. It creates artificial stress about situations outside your control. Be intentional about what information you consume. Limit news consumption to specific times and trusted sources. Unfollow social media accounts that create anxiety or comparison. Choose books, podcasts, and content that educate, inspire, or entertain without adding stress. Your environment routine ensures that your physical space supports your mental space. Cluttered, chaotic environments create mental clutter and chaos. Clean, organized, peaceful spaces promote mental clarity and calm. Create environments that support your well-being. Keep your living and working spaces clean and organized. Minimize visual clutter, include plants, natural light, and calming colors. Make your environment a sanctuary, not a source of stress. The key to building worry-proof routines is starting small and being consistent. Don't try to overhaul your entire life overnight. Choose one routine to focus on first. Master it completely before adding another. Build momentum through small, consistent actions rather than dramatic, unsustainable changes. Your routines are your foundation for peace. Design them intentionally. Protect them fiercely. Trust them completely. When worry tries to invade your life, your routines will be your fortress. Your mind is like a record player. Most people have worry records that play the same anxious songs over and over. The needle gets stuck in the groove of overthinking, repeating the same mental loops endlessly. But you can change the record. You can choose different mental music. Chronic. Overthinking isn't a thinking problem. It's a perspective problem. It's not about having too many thoughts. It's about having the wrong relationship with your thoughts. It's not about needing to think less. It's about needing to think differently. Most overthinkers believe that more thinking leads to better solutions. They think that if they just analyze a problem long enough, they'll find the perfect answer. They believe that worrying about possibilities somehow prepares them for reality. This is like believing that staring at a map will make you arrive at your destination. But here's the truth. Thinking about problems and solving problems are two different activities. Analyzing possibilities and preparing for reality are separate processes. Worrying about outcomes and influencing outcomes are unrelated actions. You can't think your way to peace. You have to choose your way to peace. The first mindset shift is from perfectionism to progress. Perfectionists overthink because they're trying to find the one perfect solution, the flawless plan, the ideal outcome. But perfection doesn't exist in real life. There are only better choices and worse choices, not perfect choices and imperfect choices. Stop asking, what's the perfect solution? Start asking, what's the next right step? Stop seeking the ideal outcome. Start seeking a better situation. Stop demanding certainty about the future. Start accepting clarity about the present. The second mindset shift is from control to influence. Overthinkers try to think their way to control over uncontrollable situations. They believe that if they just consider every possibility, they can prevent every problem. But thinking doesn't. Create control. Action creates influence. You can't control outcomes by thinking about them. You can only influence outcomes by acting on them. You can't control other people's responses by analyzing them. You can only influence their responses by how you treat them. You can't control future events by predicting them. You can only influence future events by preparing for them. The third mindset shift is from problems to possibilities. Overthinkers focus on what could go wrong, what might fail, what problems could arise. But for every potential problem, there's an equal potential solution. For every possible failure, there's a possible success. For every way things could get worse, there's a way they could get better. Train your mind to ask different questions. Instead of, what if this fails? Ask, what if this succeeds? Instead of, what could go wrong? Ask, what could go right? Instead of, how might this hurt me? Ask, how might this help me? The fourth mindset shift is from analysis to action. Overthinkers get stuck in analysis paralysis. They think they need to understand everything before they can do anything. They believe they need complete information before they can make any decision. But understanding comes through doing, not through thinking. You learn by taking action and getting feedback, not by taking no action and getting no feedback. You gain clarity by moving forward and adjusting course, not by standing still and planning perfectly. You develop confidence by handling challenges, not by avoiding them. The fifth mindset shift is from certainty to confidence. Overthinkers want certainty before they act. They want guarantees about outcomes before they make choices. They want assurance about the future before they invest in it. But certainty doesn't exist. Confidence does. Confidence isn't knowing everything. We'll work out. Confidence is knowing you can handle whatever happens. Certainty isn't about predicting the future. Confidence is about trusting your ability to adapt to the future. Certainty is about external guarantees. Confidence is about internal capabilities. The sixth mindset shift is from complexity to simplicity. Overthinkers make everything complicated. They see obstacles where others see opportunities. They find problems where others find solutions. They create complexity where others find clarity. Most situations are simpler than they appear to anxious minds. Most problems have straightforward solutions. Most decisions have obvious better choices. Most challenges have manageable approaches. Simplicity isn't simple because it's easy. It's simple because it's true. The seventh mindset shift is from scarcity to abundance. Overthinkers operate from scarcity. They believe there aren't enough opportunities, not enough time, not enough resources, not enough chances. This creates urgency and anxiety around every decision because each choice feels permanent and irreversible. But life operates from abundance. There are multiple paths to every destination. There are second chances, alternative routes, and backup plans. There are more opportunities than you can pursue, more possibilities than you can explore, more potential than you can exhaust. The eighth mindset shift is from victim to creator. Overthinkers see themselves as victims of circumstances, other people's choices, and random events. They spend mental energy analyzing why things happen to them instead of deciding what they're going to do about it. But you're not a victim. You're a creator. You create your response to circumstances. You create your interpretation of events. You create your choices about what to focus on and what to ignore. You create your life through the accumulation of your decisions. The ninth mindset shift is from judgment to curiosity. Overthinkers judge everything, themselves, others, situations, outcomes. They label things as good or bad, right or wrong, success or failure. This black and white thinking creates pressure and anxiety because nothing measures up to impossible standards. Replace judgment with curiosity. Instead of asking, "Is this good or bad?" ask, "What can I learn from this?" Instead of thinking, "This shouldn't be happening," think, "This is happening. What's my best response?" Instead of judging, "I'm doing this wrong," consider, "How can I do this better?" The 10th mindset shift is from urgency to patience. Overthinkers feel like everything needs to be figured out immediately. They create artificial deadlines for decisions that don't require immediate action. They rush through thinking processes that benefit from time and reflection. Most decisions don't need to be made right now. Most problems don't need to be solved today. Most situations don't require immediate action. Give yourself permission to take time. Let ideas marinate. Allow solutions to emerge. Trust that clarity comes with patience, not pressure. These mindset shifts don't happen overnight. They require practice, repetition, and patience with yourself. But each shift makes overthinking less attractive and peace more accessible. Each change in perspective reduces anxiety and increases effectiveness. Your mind is programmable. Your thoughts are choosable. Your perspectives are changeable. Stop being a victim of your own thinking patterns. Start being the programmer of your own mental software. Your imagination is one of your greatest gifts. It allows you to envision possibilities, create solutions, and dream of better futures. But when imagination is corrupted by worry, it becomes a weapon of self-destruction. Instead of creating wonderful possibilities, it manufactures terrible problems. Instead of envisioning success, it predicts disaster. Most of what you worry about exists only in your imagination. The problems you lose sleep over haven't happened. The disasters you prepare for won't occur. The failures you fear aren't real. You're suffering from imaginary problems while ignoring real opportunities. This isn't just wasteful, it's dangerous. When you imagine problems that don't exist, your body responds as if they do exist. Your stress response doesn't distinguish between real threats and imagined threats. Your nervous system reacts to mental movies as if they were actual events, so you're literally making yourself sick over things that aren't happening. You're creating real physical stress from fictional mental scenarios. You're damaging your actual health with hypothetical problems. This is insanity disguised as preparation. But let me ask you this. How much of your worry time has been wasted on problems that never materialized? How many sleepless nights have you spent preparing for disasters that never came? How many hours? Have you lost to anxiety about situations that never occurred? If you're honest, the answer is most of it. The vast majority of what people worry about never happens. Their imaginations create more problems than reality ever does. They're better at inventing disasters than life is at delivering them. Your brain has evolved to be a prediction machine. It's constantly trying to anticipate what might happen so you can prepare for it. This was useful when humans faced immediate physical dangers, but now your prediction machine has nothing real to predict, so it starts inventing dangers that don't exist. It's like having a security system that's so sensitive it goes off when leaves blow past the window. Your mental alarm system is triggering constantly, warning you about threats that aren't there, dangers that aren't coming, and problems that aren't real. The first step in stopping this cycle is learning to distinguish between real problems and imaginary problems. Real problems exist in the present moment. They have actual evidence. They require concrete action. They affect your life right now. Imaginary problems exist in the future. They have no current evidence. They require only mental action. They affect only your imagination. Real problems need solutions. Imaginary problems need dismissal. When a worry arises, ask yourself, is this happening right now? If the answer is no, it's imaginary. Is there concrete evidence this will happen? If the answer is no, it's speculation. Can I take action about this today? If the answer is no, it's useless mental energy. Most people fail this test because they confuse possibility with probability. Just because something could happen doesn't mean it will happen. Just because you can imagine a disaster doesn't mean you should expect it. Just because your mind can create a problem doesn't mean reality will deliver it. Possibility and probability are different categories. It's possible that a meteor will hit your house today. It's not probable. It's possible that you'll win the lottery tomorrow. It's not probable. It's possible that every worry you have will come true. It's not probable. Your imagination has unlimited creative power. It can invent infinite problems, imagine endless disasters, and create countless catastrophes. But reality has limits. Reality is constrained by physics, probability, and natural laws. Reality can't keep up with imagination's capacity for creating problems. This is why worry feels so real, even when it's not. Your imagination is more vivid than your memory. The problems you create in your mind feel more intense than the problems you've actually solved. The disasters you imagine seem more threatening than the challenges you've actually overcome. But here's what most people don't understand. You can redirect your imagination. You can choose what you visualize. You can decide what mental movies to watch. You can use your creative power for positive possibilities instead of negative probabilities. If you're going to imagine something, imagine success instead of failure. If you're going to visualize outcomes, visualize positive ones instead of negative ones. If you're going to create mental scenarios, create scenarios where things go right instead of wrong. This isn't naive optimism. This is strategic thinking. If your imagination is going to create experiences in your mind anyway, why not create pleasant ones? If your nervous system is going to respond to mental images anyway, why not give it positive images to respond to? The quality of your imagination determines the quality of your experience. Imagine problems, and you'll experience stress. Imagine solutions, and you'll experience peace. Imagine disasters, and you'll experience anxiety. Imagine success, and you'll experience confidence. Start practicing mental hygiene with your imagination. When you catch yourself imagining problems, consciously redirect to imagining solutions. When you notice yourself visualizing failure, deliberately visualize success. When you find yourself creating disasters, intentionally create victories. This takes practice because your mind has been conditioned to expect problems. It's been trained to scan for dangers. It's been programmed to prepare for disasters. But this programming can be changed. This conditioning can be reversed. Challenge your assumptions about future problems. Question the evidence for your worried predictions. Examine the track record of your anxious forecasts. Most of what you worry about doesn't happen. Most of what you fear doesn't materialize. Most of what you predict doesn't occur. Stop giving your imagination permission to torture you. Stop allowing your creative power to work against you. Stop using your mental energy to create problems that don't exist. Start using your imagination to create possibilities that could exist. Your imagination is a tool. Like any tool, it can be used constructively or destructively. You can use a hammer to build a house or tear one down. You can use your imagination to create peace or create panic. The choice is yours. Stop imagining problems that don't exist. Start imagining solutions that could exist. Stop visualizing disasters that won't happen. Start visualizing successes that might happen. Stop creating fictional stress. Start creating fictional peace. Your imagination belongs to you. Take control of it. Direct it consciously. Use it wisely. Make it work for your dreams instead of against them. You cannot worry and be grateful at the same time. Your brain lacks the capacity to focus on what's wrong and what's right simultaneously. You can't feel anxious about what you lack while appreciating what you have. You can't fear the future while being thankful for the present. This isn't just philosophy, it's neuroscience. Gratitude and worry activate different neural networks in your brain. When you're truly grateful, the parts of your brain responsible for anxiety become less active. When you're genuinely appreciative, the chemical cocktail that creates worry can't be produced. Gratitude is worry's natural enemy. It's anxiety's kryptonite. It's fear's opposite. Where worry focuses on what's missing, gratitude focuses on what's present. Where anxiety dwells on what could go wrong, appreciation celebrates what's going right. Where fear imagines scarcity, gratitude recognizes abundance. Most people treat gratitude like a nice idea instead of a practical tool. They think of it as something you practice on Thanksgiving or when things are going perfectly. They see it as a luxury for good times rather than a necessity for hard times. This is backwards thinking. Gratitude is most powerful when life is most challenging. It's most necessary when circumstances are most difficult. It's most effective when you feel least thankful. Gratitude isn't just for celebrating good times, it's for creating good times in the midst of hard times. But let me ask you this. What are you grateful for right now? Not what you should be grateful for, or what you'll be grateful for when things get better. What are you actually grateful for in this moment? If you can't answer immediately, you've found the root of much of your anxiety. A mind that can't find anything to appreciate is a mind that's trained to find problems. A heart that can't feel grateful is a heart that's conditioned to feel fearful. A perspective that can't see what's working is a perspective that's programmed to see what's broken. This isn't about your circumstances. This is about your focus. In any situation, no matter how challenging, there are things to worry about and things to appreciate. You always have a choice about where to direct your attention. You always have the power to choose your focus. Most people focus on the 10% that's wrong and ignore the 90% that's right. They notice the one thing that's broken and overlook the 10 things that are working. They obsess over the single problem and dismiss the multiple blessings. This selective attention creates a distorted reality where problems seem bigger than they actually are. Gratitude corrects this distortion. It trains your mind to notice what's working instead of only what's not working. It teaches your brain to see solutions instead of only problems. It programs your perspective to recognize abundance instead of only scarcity. Start with the obvious. Things. You woke up this morning, that's something to be grateful for. You have air to breathe. That's a gift millions of people throughout history didn't receive. You have access to clean water. That's a luxury that most of the world still lacks. You can read these words. That's an ability that connects you to all human knowledge. But don't stop with the obvious things. Look deeper. Be grateful for challenges that made you stronger. Appreciate failures that taught you lessons. Thank problems that revealed your resilience. Acknowledge setbacks that clarified your priorities. This isn't about pretending everything is perfect. This isn't about denying real problems. This isn't about fake positivity or toxic optimism. This is about training your mind to see the full picture instead of just the negative parts. This is about developing the mental skill of appreciation. Gratitude is a practice, not a feeling. You don't wait until you feel grateful to practice gratitude. You practice gratitude until you feel grateful. You don't wait for perfect circumstances to be thankful. You find things to be thankful for. In imperfect circumstances, create a daily gratitude practice. Every morning, identify 3 things you're grateful for. Make them specific, not generic. Instead of, I'm grateful for my family, say, I'm grateful for the way my daughter laughed at dinner last night. Instead of, I'm grateful for my health, say, I'm grateful that my legs carried me up the stairs without pain. Every evening, reflect on 3 good things that happened during the day. They don't have to be major events. A kind word from a stranger counts. A beautiful sunset counts. A problem that didn't occur counts. A worry that didn't materialize counts. Train your mind to notice positive details. Write your gratitude down. The act of writing engages different parts of your brain than just thinking. It makes your appreciation more concrete and memorable. It creates a record you can review when you're struggling to find things to appreciate. Share your gratitude with others. Tell people specifically what you appreciate about them. Express thanks for kindnesses received. Acknowledge efforts made on your behalf. Gratitude shared is gratitude multiplied. It creates positive connections and reinforces your own appreciation. Practice gratitude for ordinary things. Most people only feel grateful for extraordinary events, promotions, celebrations, achievements. But ordinary things are more reliable sources of gratitude. Your morning coffee, your comfortable bed, your favorite song, your pet's affection, these small pleasures are available daily. Practice anticipatory gratitude. Instead of only appreciating what you have, start appreciating what's coming. Be grateful for opportunities you've applied for. Appreciate experiences you've planned. Thank future possibilities before they become present realities. This trains your mind to expect good things instead of bad things. Use gratitude as a worry. Intervention. When you catch yourself spiraling into anxiety, immediately shift to appreciation. Find 3 things in your current environment to be grateful for. This breaks the worry cycle and redirects your mental energy toward positivity. Gratitude changes your brain structure over time. Regular appreciation literally rewires your neural pathways. It makes positive thinking more automatic and negative thinking more difficult. It builds mental habits that serve your well-being instead of sabotaging it. The more you practice gratitude, the more you find to be grateful for. Appreciation is like a muscle. It gets stronger with use. The more you focus on what's working, the more you notice what's working. The more you acknowledge abundance, the more abundant your life feels. Here's what most people don't understand about gratitude. It's not just about feeling better. It's about seeing more clearly. Grateful people don't have perfect lives. They have clear vision. They don't have fewer problems. They have better perspective. They don't have more things. They have more appreciation for the things they have. Gratitude is not just an attitude, it's an antidote. It's medicine for worry. It's therapy for anxiety. It's treatment for fear. Use it intentionally, practice it consistently, trust it completely. You already have everything you need to be grateful. You just need to notice it. Stop looking for what's missing. Start seeing what's present. Stop focusing on what's wrong. Start appreciating what's right. This is where theory meets reality. This is where knowledge becomes action. This is where understanding transforms into living. Everything you've learned means nothing unless you choose to apply it. Every insight is worthless unless you act on it. Every tool is useless unless you use it. You now know that worry is a choice. You understand that anxiety is optional. You realize that fear is not your master. You've learned that peace is possible. But knowledge without action is just sophisticated ignorance. Awareness without application is just educated paralysis. The difference between people who worry and people who don't isn't intelligence. It's not circumstances. It's not luck. It's courage. The courage to choose differently. The courage to act despite uncertainty. The courage to live fully instead of safely. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's action in the presence of fear. Courage isn't feeling confident. It's moving forward without confidence. Courage isn't being certain. It's choosing to act despite uncertainty. You don't need to eliminate fear to live courageously. You need to act courageously despite feeling fearful. But let me ask you this. What would you do if you had unlimited courage? What dreams would you pursue? What risks would you take? What conversations would you have? What changes would you make? What life would you create? The gap between your current life and your courageous life is the gap between who you are and who you could become. That gap is filled with excuses, fears, worries, and hesitations. It's filled with what-ifs and buts and maybes. It's filled with everything except action. Most people wait for courage to arrive before they act courageously. They wait to feel brave before they do brave things. They wait for fear to disappear before they do fear-inducing things. They wait for certainty before they do uncertain things. This is backwards. Courage comes from acting courageously, not from feeling courageous. You build courage the same way you build muscle, through resistance training. Every time you do something that scares you, you get stronger. Every time you act despite anxiety, you build resilience. Every time you choose growth over comfort, you develop courage. The courage muscle atrophies when you don't use it. The more you avoid challenges, the weaker you become. The more you choose safety over growth, the more fearful you become. The more you let worry guide your decisions, the more worried you become. Courage requires practice. Start small, but start today. Choose one thing you've been avoiding because of fear. One conversation you've been postponing. One opportunity you've been declining. One change you've been resisting. One risk you've been avoiding. Take one small, courageous action today. It doesn't have to be dramatic. It doesn't have to be life-changing. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be real. It just has to be forward movement. It just has to be something you wouldn't normally do because fear has been stopping you. Here's what most people don't understand about courage. It's not about big gestures. It's about daily choices. It's not about grand moments. It's about ordinary decisions. It's not about heroic acts. It's about consistent actions. Courage is built in the small moments when no one is watching. Courage is choosing to have a difficult conversation instead of avoiding it. Courage is applying for a job you're not sure you're qualified for. Courage is starting a project before you know exactly how to finish it. Courage is saying no to things that don't serve you, and yes to things that scare you. Courage is admitting when you're wrong. Courage is asking for help when you need it. Courage is setting boundaries when people cross them. Courage is pursuing your dreams even when others don't understand them. Courage is being yourself even when others want you to be someone else. The world doesn't need more people who play it safe. The world needs more people who take intelligent risks. The world doesn't need more people who avoid challenges. The world needs more people who embrace them. The world doesn't need more people who worry about what might go wrong. The world needs more people who work to make things go right. Your courage serves more than just yourself. When you act courageously, you give others permission to act courageously. When you face your fears, you inspire others to face theirs. When you choose growth over comfort, you show others that growth is possible. Every time you choose courage over fear, you make the world a slightly more courageous place. Every time you act despite anxiety, you contribute to a culture of boldness. Every time you refuse to let worry control your choices, you demonstrate that worry doesn't have to control anyone's choices. But courage without wisdom is recklessness. Courage without preparation is foolishness. Courage without purpose is meaningless. Your courage should serve your values, support your goals, and align with your purpose. Be courageously intelligent, not just courageously impulsive. The goal isn't to eliminate all fear from your life. The goal is to prevent fear from eliminating all life from your years. The objective isn't to never feel anxious. The objective is to never let anxiety determine your choices. The aim isn't to stop worrying entirely. The aim is to stop letting worry run your life entirely. You are more capable than you realize. You are stronger than you think. You are braver than you feel. You have overcome every challenge you've faced so far. You have survived every difficult day. You have handled every crisis. You have proof of your resilience. Trust that proof. Trust your track record. Trust your ability to figure things out, adapt to changes, and handle whatever comes. You don't need guarantees about the future to act courageously in the present. You just need faith in your ability to respond to whatever the future brings. Life rewards the bold, not because the bold never fail, but because the bold never stop trying. Not because the bold never worry, but because the bold never let worry stop them. Not because the bold have no fear, but because the bold have more desire than fear. Your dreams are waiting for your courage. Your potential is waiting for your action. Your life is waiting for your decision to stop hesitating and start living. Stop waiting for perfect conditions. Start creating better conditions. Stop waiting for fear to disappear. Start acting despite fear's presence. The time for preparation is over. The time for hesitation is done. The time for worry is finished. The time for action is now. The time for courage is today. The time for living is this moment. You already have what it takes. Now, go prove it. If this message spoke to you, subscribe for more powerful mindset content. Let us know in the comments what part hit you the hardest. You already have what it takes. Now, go prove it.